New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. Hey now, that silly microphone stayed muted, didn't it now? Good morning, dear ones. Rev Robert with you here. It's another Saturday morning on New Thought Media Network, and that means that we have our Saturday morning Science of Mind and Spirit conversation series. Those that watch regularly, and thank you for those that do. See Fiona's chatted in already this morning. Welcome, Fiona. Glad you're afternoon your time, early evening your time. Glad you're with us. Anyone else that's out there, if you're watching live or at another time, please feel free to chat along. We want to hear your comments. We'd love to hear your questions. This is meant to be a conversation. Excuse me. So please feel free to join the conversation as we go. All right. And I want to do a quick shout out and a big thank you to Laura Topper for last week's experience and sharing around the metaphysical charts and what they are and how to use them and what they do and how they can really help us to understand this philosophy more and more and more. And that's really what this program's designed to do, is to provide an opportunity, a space where we can explore this philosophy, the science of mind, from various perspectives. That's why we have several different speakers, and you don't see any one of us all too often. And that is why up until this point in the year, we've been teaching exclusively from the Science of Mind textbook. And if you'll notice, mine's back there on the shelf because we're not using that anymore because, well, we finished it. We've completed our study of it, and the team, all the different speakers, we came together, we had a gathering and a meeting, and we said, all right, what do we want to do for the remainder of 2022 here? We have options. We could start the book again and start from the beginning again and massage how much time we spend on each section to complete around the end of the year. And we considered taking a few different books and breaking the books down into just enough segments. Excuse me. And then Reverend Mark Gilbert had brought forward a fabulous idea, and that is to work alongside of the Science of Mind archives and utilize the resources of the archives to be able to share that with you as well. And that would allow for a flexibility on the presenter's part as to what we bring forward each week and what we're going to work from and what we're going to study. So a couple things I would like you to know. As I said, we're using the Science of Mind and Spirit archives, and most of the way they work is they have a wonderful wealth of free information and free resources that we can use and study. And when available, we're going to do that. At other times, they have archival books and archived copies of the Science of Mind magazine and other resources, and we're going to delve into those as well. Some of them may require a payment on your part to the archives if you want to access a downloadable copy of that. of that book or that article. If not, we're going to share it virtually, digitally at least, as we go, to be able to help articulate the writing and the teaching that's coming forward, and make what we trust will be to support you in making sense of some of these older writings and more esoteric stuff that's out there, stuff that doesn't get a lot of attention in the New Thought movement, but can help us really to strengthen and root down, get grounded really in this philosophy in a bigger way. So that's what's going to happen starting today. And we did not necessarily have we wanted to share this with you before we came out and said, okay, here's what's happening. And so we did not share a link to this with you at this point. But what I want to do is give you a real quick run through and tour of the Science of Mind archives and what that looks like. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen here. I'm of course on the wrong page where I'm looking at it. So let me get back over here and share with you where we want to be. We're going to start from the home page here. There we go. And you can see that you can join as an individual. We do donate to the archives on a monthly basis here. Part of our tithe program and our committed giving program is we give to the archives, but you'll find all kinds of interesting stuff here. And again, we'll be sharing links as we go. Wonderful experiences and opportunities here. And we have a good, I believe, wonderful relationship with the archives. I love when we get to share what they're doing. And Reverend Kathy Mastriani, the executive director, spiritual director of the archives, she shares on a program with Laura Topper on every other Tuesday afternoon. It's a great partnership that's being built, and in my mind, another demonstration of our oneness. So, all right, so let's dig in here today again. So this means you're never really going to know what. Well, again, we're going to work to help you get a heads up on what we'll be talking about, and you may or may not choose to purchase the resources. All right, let's dig in. I want to do this. This is from Ernest Holmes, and this article was reprinted in the January 65 issue of the Science of Mind magazine. It was originally published also in 1964. This is what they published in 65. Spiritual wisdom for living in today's world. This topic naturally divides itself into three parts: what I believe about God, what I believe about man, and what I believe about the relationship between God and man. Now, remember, this is Ernest Holmes's writing, so this is in his words and in his vernacular of the day. You may hear me do some gender neutralizing of some of the languaging in this as we go, and some of it is a little tough to try to shift, but we'll do what we can and do what feels right here. So, and in this case, the word man is meant as human. So you'll probably hear me say that often as well. So the topic naturally divides itself into three parts. We're going to be talking about three parts today. Briefly, what Holmes believed about God, what he believed about humans, and what he believed about the relationship between God and humanity. First, I believe that God is universal spirit, and by spirit, I mean the life essence of all that is, that subtle intelligence which permeates all things, and which in man is self-conscious mind. I believe that God is present in every place, conscious in every part, the intelligence or mind of all that is. Oneness. One God, one is universal spirit. He continues, I believe that human is the direct representative of this divine presence on this plane of existence. Humanity is the most highly evolved intelligence of which we know have any or of which we have any knowledge. Now, the dolphins might argue this point with us, but I don't speak dolphin. The whales might argue this point with us, but I don't speak whale. So we do now know, science has taught us over time that some of what Holmes said in his day has been proven to not be true, to be the truth as it was. And in this piece, what I love about what we're going to explore here in the next 35 or 40 minutes is how Holmes lays out that he's fully cognizant that even what he's saying may not be absolutely the divine truth, but it is for what he knows. I trust you're following me there. Again, feel free to comment as we go. Feel free to share in the comments as we go. We'll include those as we go. All right. So there's only one. And this one and us, and we're part of that. We have to be part of that. We can't not be part of that. So we are a direct representative of the divine presence in this experience. That alludes to the fact there may be other planes of existence. We'll get to that in another time. So humanity is the most evolved that we know of. We know now there are other representations of knowledge and language on this planet that we don't understand, but are definitely there. I believe that the relationship between God and the human, between the infinite and the finite, is a direct one, and that the avenue through which the mind of God expresses to the mind of the human is through the mind of the human itself. We have to have, there is a direct communication between the mind of the one and the mind of the individual. We have the ability to think, to know, to perceive, to receive, and to act. What are these attributes other than a direct channel through which the universal spirit flows to us? Now, what I want you to hear in this is that Holmes is starting to build his case. And in all of Holmes's greatest writings, he builds his logical case. He moves us from step to step to step to make sure, I believe, that we wouldn't miss anything. Sometimes we miss stuff. We're human. But so there's a direct communication between the divine and ourselves. We know this as our intuitive voice. We know this through our visioning practice. We know this voice when we hear it. And many of us will say again and again, I know truth when I hear it. I know truth when I see it, when I feel it. He continues, I do not feel that we approach God through any formula, sacred prayer, or intermediary, but rather that the Spirit of God, the eternal mind, is the power by which we think and know. Now, yes, as a spiritual practice, we teach spiritual mind treatment, a 5-step spiritual mind treatment. We teach a formula, a sacred prayer, but it is not acting as an intermediary. If I ask someone else to pray on my behalf, I'm not asking them to act as an intermediary between me and the divine. I'm asking for them to truly to cast a vision, to cast a truth as they know it, so that perhaps I can catch that truth too. So as a practitioner, as a minister, when someone approaches me for counseling or perspective, I don't offer to pray as an intermediary that, oh God, hear my voice because you can't hear this voice. What I do is I pray to know that truth so that you may know it as well. And to hold it, not hold it, but to cast that truth into the ethers, into the law, so that you come to know it as well and accept it as your truth. It is self-evident, continuing with Holmes in that paragraph, it is self-evident that the only God whom we can know is the only God whom we do know, and that this knowing is an interior process of our own belief and perception. We can know God no more other than the God whom our consciousness perceives. So this is in part why we have what would appear to be many gods. This is why we have folks that want to enact the law of their God over the law of another God. There has to be room for each of us to approach the divine in its own way. I have often said that if there are 7 billion plus people on the planet, then there are 7 billion plus different ways to know God, to approach the divine, to approach this experience of being a human, a direct conduit, this amazing experience of being a direct conduit of the divine flow, of God's life, of the divine life. But some will say, back to Holmes, but some will say, while it is true that we cannot think outside of ourselves, we can know that which is outside of ourselves, because we do know things that are not within us. This is true, as it is true that we have a city hall. But to me, that city hall would have no existence unless I were first aware of the fact. It has no existence to those who have never heard of it. This is true of everything. And while the possibility of knowledge may and must expand, we cannot know that which we do not perceive. I don't perceive and I was invited to perceive of a God that would kill, that was vengeful, that was would take retribution on people. But I've now been unraveling that belief system and letting go of all of that. So I do everything to not perceive a vengeful God. Now, this isn't to say that when something crazy happens in my life, I don't look at it and consider it. And it's not to say that I don't witness violence and misuses of the law. Those things happen, but I have to have an overriding perception of the God I desire, of the one I wish to be. We can know no God other than the God whom our consciousness perceives. I think it's incredibly important to be in that place. The bottom of page 2 here, he continues, therefore I feel that God is to each one what each is to God. The divine nature must be and is infinite, but we can know only as much of this nature as we permit to flow through us. In no other way can God be known to us. God is to each what each is to God. If you come to the divine and say life sucks, you're going to experience that. If you come to the divine with a belief that your life is a constant stream of struggle and suffering, then you are making it so. Now, don't hear this as a condemnation. Don't hear this as an accusation, because every one of us, as soon as we are awakened to this truth, as soon as we say, oh, as soon as that happens, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Once we know this truth, now, don't get me wrong, you can pretend to not know the truth. But once you have perceived and know the truth of how the universe works, of how all of this fits together, you can't stop knowing it. You can pretend, you can try, but 20 years, and there have been times where I wanted to just say, now put this all away, put it on a shelf, and let's go. Once you know the truth, you cannot unknow the truth. So we can only know as much as of the nature of the divine as we allow to flow through us. Am I allowing myself to be prosperous? Am I praying for money on one hand and then being stingy on the other? Or am I allowing myself to express prosperity in a way that reminds me of the divine flow and the unlimited nature of the universe? In no other way can God be known to us. I believe, continuing in Holmes, I believe the relationship between God and human is hidden within, and that when we discover a new truth or find out something further about an old truth, it is really more of this infinite mind revealing itself through us. as I have another phrase that I love to use and in different ways, and that's as necessary. What is necessary for the next step in the evolution of this ministry, of my life, of all of our lives, comes into our lives exactly as it is necessary. Now, sometimes what happens is we have an experience that we don't like, and it teaches us what we don't want in our lives, and it reveals to us a deeper hidden a deeper belief within ourselves of what it is we really truly want or don't want. The new truth is hidden within. We have to plumb the depths of our own experience in order for the new truth to be revealed to us. But trust at every step that infinite mind is constantly revealing itself to us, because that is its very nature. That is the very flow and the essence of it, is to reveal itself as our lives. Am I a conduit for that? Or am I at loggerheads? Am I a conduit towards destruction or disbelief or separation? It might be a question for another session. Continuing with Holmes on page 4, or otherwise we're going to be here all day. I believe then in a direct communication between the Spirit of God and the human God, personifying itself through each and all. This is as beautiful as well as a logical concept and an unavoidable conclusion. There is a direct communication between the divine and you. You have this ability. It is within you. If you're not using it, we can share. We can help you with that. We can share with you ways to make sure you're using it towards the desired result you have. I believe then in the direct communication, this makes the human being a divine being, a personification of the infinite. But if we are divine beings, why is it that we appear to be so limited, so forlorn, so poor, miserable, sick, and unhappy? The answer is that we are ignorant of our own nature and also ignorant of the law of God, which governs all things. Now, I mentioned this a little bit back, right? We're going to talk about the law in a moment. This is huge. However, I want you to recognize that any misperception is only because we haven't opened up to it yet, that we haven't seen it yet. The answer is that we are ignorant of our own nature and also ignorant of the law which governs all things. Don't make that sound like you missed out or you didn't pay attention. It just means you haven't awoken to that, or you're in the process of awakening to that. Now, I know most people in this room, most people watching this broadcast, you're well aware of all this. And I want to make sure we cover everything Holmes says in here, because I think it is all very important. So he also, in this paragraph, he's setting us up to explore the law of God, which governs all things. So let's get into that. He continues, I believe that all things are governed by immutable and exact laws. Immutable just means changeless, solid as a rock, cannot be changed. So we have all of life is governed by exact and unchanging laws. These laws cannot be violated. Our ignorance of any law will offer no excuse for its infringement, and we are made to suffer. I learned this when I was 17. I had just had my driver's license, not all that long actually, and got pulled over for going a little over the speed limit. And as the officer approached, the first thing I said is, I had my license and stuff ready. So I handed it to him. I said, I'm so sorry, officer. I'm not clear on what the speed limit is on this road. And his remark was, ignorance of the law is no excuse, son. Took my information and walked away. He didn't give me a ticket though. But so we can't infringe, right? When we're ignorant of the law, when we're unaware of how the law operates, it doesn't mean that we don't feel the repercussions when we try to violate that law or we try to bend that law. But it also doesn't mean that God willed us to suffer. God doesn't will us to suffer. We're not created. There is no hierarchy in that regard. We're individualized. We have free will. And this is Holmes now again. We are individuals and have free will and self-choice. We shall learn by experience about things mental and spiritual, just as we do about things physical and material. There's no other way to learn, and God itself could not provide any other way without contradicting its own nature. So what we're getting to, and he'll get to it here in just a little bit as well, is the law of cause and effect. When we are unaware of how a law works and we break that law, we have to, by the nature of the universe, we have to suffer the consequences, whatever that might mean. Maybe that's a financial impairment. It cost me $60 for a ticket. Maybe it's a physical impairment. Some countries, some places, you break a driving law and they impound your car for 30 days. Let's see how you do without a car for 30 days. See if you appreciate the laws a little more. So we're governed by this, but there's no other way for it to work, because any other way would lead us down a line where there was a duality, where there is God's will over each of us. This is an immutable, exacting laws of the universe that we can learn to utilize, and direct towards the accomplishments of our desires. So, continuing with Holmes here, but if everything is governed by law, is there any spontaneous mind in the universe? Yes. But this spontaneous mind, which is God, never contradicts its own nature. It never violates its own law. We shall cease to misuse the law as we learn more about ourselves and our relationship to the whole. Experience alone will do this for us. We are made free, and because we are made free, we shall have to abide by our nature and gradually wake up to the truth of our being. So God can't break its own law. And we are governed by the law that God set in motion. We can attempt that, but because we're made free, we have this opportunity. We can attempt it, but we're going to still live by the nature of truth. Continuing with Holmes, since I believe that everything is governed by exact laws, I believe that the scientific world, I believe all that the scientific world teaches, provided it is true in theory and principle. But should anyone in the scientific world, realizing that all is governed by law, thereby exclude the necessity of a spontaneous spirit pervading all things, I would ask him this question. But what power of intelligence do you recognize that all things are governed by exact laws? And he would be compelled to answer that he knew by the power of a spontaneous intelligence welling up with him and within him. Well, I just know. So here, Holmes is giving us an opportunity, and what he's really, I believe, trying to do is tie in the truth of science. That science isn't outside of any of this. Science is actually working in the same way as this. So he continues, we are living in a universe governed by mechanical laws which have no conscious intelligence or personal volition. The laws do not play favorites. Of this we are sure, but the very fact that we can make this declaration proves that we are not governed by mechanical laws alone, for mechanical law cannot, by reason of its own nature, recognize itself. When we come to self-recognition, we have already arrived at spontaneous self-knowing. Okay, take a breath. This is Holmes at his finest, folks. We are living in a universe where we are governed by these laws, these universal laws. They make no respecter of person. They do not play favorites. And by knowing this, by being able to cognize this, to be able to think this through, proves that we are not controlled by those laws alone. Because those laws cannot recognize themselves. We come to self-recognition. I believe the dolphins and the whales most likely have this self-recognition going on as well. So we are subject to the law of our being, but this law is not a law of bondage, but one of liberty. Liberty under law. I believe that's a typo there in this document. And what he would be saying here is we're subject to the law of our own beliefs, but this law is not a law that keeps us bound, keeps us down, but of liberty, liberty under the law. All the liberty we want without breaking the law, the universal laws. He continues, I can conceive of a spontaneous spirit and an immutable law, the spirit and the way it works. This position has been accepted by deep thinkers of every age. It is self-evident. Spirit can never contradict itself. Neither can it violate its creative action through its own law. We're spelling this out. This is how it has to work, or everything falls apart. God works through what we call the principle of evolution or unfoldment, and we are subject to the laws involved. It is not a limitation, but it is the only way through which our freedom and individuality can be guaranteed to us. Again, if not this, everything falls apart. There is an unfolding principle within us, which is ever carrying us forward to greater and greater expressions of life in freedom, love, and joy. Here is where Holmes starts to, I believe, his movement towards casting us a vision as well. He's telling us how it works. He's been telling us the mechanical eye, the engineer's view, if you will, of how all this works. But it's right about in here in this piece where he starts to cast us a little bit of a vision. There's an unfolding principle within each of us. A lot of people call that the vision. There is a vision within each one of us, which is ever carrying us forward to greater and greater expressions of life in freedom, love, and joy. That is the promise. Each one of us is at a certain level of evolution and on the pathway of an endless expression of life, truth, and beauty. Behind us is the all, before us is the all, and within, or expressing through us, is as much of this all as we are ready to receive. I love this idea. There is the everything before us and behind us, supporting us and calling us forward, but it's only what we're ready to receive that we can experience. How much good can we experience in our lives? As much as we are ready to receive. I believe absolutely in the immortality and the continuity of the individual stream of consciousness, which is what we mean by the individual life stream. Humanity is an ascending principle of life, individuality and expression through experience and unfoldment. Here we enter the spiral, what now many refer to as the spiral, because humanity is an ascending principle moving upward and outward of life, individuality, and expression through experience and unfoldment. The longer you hang around this movement, this philosophy, the more experiences you have of how it works, and you are more able to believe and then therefore demonstrate these principles, demonstrate these and direct these universal laws, because we've come into alignment with the natural order, with the natural affinity of the divine. So he continues, I do not believe in hell, the devil, damnation, or in any future state of punishment. And I say, why would we? If we're eternal beings, and really in the paragraph before this, he tells us there's no death. He doesn't use those words, but how would there ever be a hell? But let's continue. I do not believe in hell, the devil, damnation, or any future state of punishment, or any other of the fantastic ideas which have been conceived in the minds of those who are either morbid or have felt the need of a future state of damnation, to which consign the immortal souls of those who have not agreed to their absurd doctrines. A little bit of a veiled jab at Christianity there, and other organized religions. Holmes was not exactly that's pulling the punch a little bit there, but I think it points to right. I think we all know where he's pointing there. So simply, God does not punish people. There is, however, a law of cause and effect, which governs all and which will automatically punish impartially and impersonally if we conflict with the fundamental harmony. If we get out of alignment, folks, the law of cause and effect is going to smack us around in one way or another. It doesn't have to hurt. It doesn't have to be drama, trauma, or chaos. However, we often want it to be, and we let it be. The law of cause and effect. The law of retribution, at the bottom of page 4, is the law of balance, compensation, and equilibrium, which is necessary to the universe. As we sow, we shall no doubt reap. But I am sure that full and complete salvation will come alike to all. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness in which we now live according to our own state of understanding. So again, here we're repeating premises that we've explored in this essay already, that it all comes back to our consciousness. Now, we do need to do work around that, or we do need to take action based on that. But it all comes back to how much do I understand about this? So if I continue my study and I continue to be in a place of learning how to use these principles, where they fit out, a continual study of not only the historical figures and how they use these principles, but how current everyday people are using these laws. That is, I believe, the biggest part of it. I am sure that a full and complete salvation will come to all. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness in which we now live according to our own state of understanding. Are you living in hell or are you living in heaven? We need not worry. Either reward or punishment, for both are certain. In the long run, all will be saved from themselves through their own discovery of their divine nature. And this is the only salvation necessary and the only one that could really be. When we come to know ourselves. I believe in every human's religion, for it is the avenue through which they worship God. I believe in my own religion more than that of anyone else, because this is the very avenue through which I worship God. Again, if there's 7 billion people on the planet, folks, there's 7 billion different ways to get to God. I happen to believe that I like hanging out with people that believe like I believe. Plain and simple. I like hanging out with people that like the same music I do. I like hanging out with people that like to do the same activities I do. Now, not all of those always overlap 100%, and if they did, life would be kind of boring. But we create our own affinity groups in life based on what we know and what we claim to be true for our lives. I do not believe that there is anything in the universe which is against us but ourselves. I'm not afraid of anything except myself. I don't know where I picked that up, but I did somewhere along the lines. There is nothing in this universe which is against us. The only thing that can get in the way of the divine flow is us, is me. The only thing that can get in the way of my divinity, of my life, of the good flowing into my life is me. You can't get in the way. My kids can't get in the way. The law can't nothing can get in the way but me. So that makes this pretty simple. Get my limited beliefs out of the way. I think I got a chance. In that same paragraph, everything is and must be for us. The only God who exists, the Ancient of Days, wishes us well, knows us only as being perfect and complete. When we shall learn to know as God knows, we shall be saved from all mistakes and all troubles. This is heaven. The apparent imperfection is but a temporary experience of the soul on the pathway of unfoldment. Humanity is a creature of time and of the night, but the day will break and the dawn of an everlasting morning of pure joy is in store for all. Meanwhile, God is with us, and we need have no fear, for he doeth all things well. I feel that we have reason to rejoice in what truth we have now, and that we may look toward the future in confident expectancy, with gratitude and certainty that as we gain greater understanding, we shall receive greater illumination. As we gain greater understanding, how do we gain that understanding? Experience, study, being with people, attending retreats, reading the books, listening to the tapes, watching these types of broadcasts. We gain the experience and receive greater illumination. Oh, this is how it works. Or, oh, that works a little bit easier, a little bit better. Don't worry, folks, we're wrapping it up here soon. I believe that we are surrounded by a mental or spiritual law, the law of mind, which receives the impress of our thoughts and acts upon it. This is the law of all life, and we may consciously use it for definite purposes. I'm not superstitious about this law any more than I would be about the law of electricity or any other natural law, for nature is always natural. The law of mind receives the impress of our thoughts and acts upon them. Now, this is the very core of it, because yes, not every thought becomes a thing, and yes, we have plenty of stray and errant thoughts in our lives, and yes, it is the consistency of our thoughts and the deeper belief behind our thoughts. However, this is electricity cannot change and never will. Gravity cannot change and never will. The law of mind cannot change. The universal laws, the law of prosperity cannot change. As he's coming into the home stretch here, I believe in a religion of happiness and joy. There is too much depression and sorrow in the world. These things were never meant to be and have no real place in God's world of love. Religion should be like the morning sun, sending forth its glorious rays of light. It should be like the gently falling dew, covering all, like the cool of the evening and the repose of the night. It should be a spontaneous song of joy and not a funeral dirge. From the fullness of the heart, the mouth should speak. I believe in the brotherhood of humanity, the fatherhood of God, and the bond of unity that binds us all together in one perfect whole. I believe that God speaks to us in the wind and the wave and proclaims its presence to us through all of nature, but most completely through our own minds and in our hearts, which proclaim its life and love. That is a piece, I believe, of what Ernest Holmes believed. Remember, this was written in 1964. And we've had plenty of opportunities to expand and contemplate and ruminate and all those things about what Holmes meant and what he didn't mean. And what I believe is more important, what does this speak to you? What does this speak to you? What do you truly believe when it comes to the universal law? And one of the things that I believe is an outpicturing of this essay is spiritual mind treatment. And over time, brevity wins over time often. And over time, we've changed our language about our own relationship and our own connection to the divine. Many of us have gotten lost in the belief and the need of intermediaries. And yet none of us are here to do that. Many have found their way into this philosophy to then find their way out and even pretend that this isn't happening or isn't working or that this isn't the truth, when they deep down know it is. I believe spiritual mind treatment, what we colloquially call prayer, is not a begging and beseeching. It's not seeking help from some far off source or placing our faith in the human in front of us because they've traveled the spiral a little further or have a little higher education or have done a little more work, or we wear our badges of accomplishment through the outpicturing of our own lives. I trust you enjoy these experiences as much as I do. And I do my best, if not live, to watch the replays of my colleagues in what we've been sharing. And I'm very, very excited about what we're going to create in the coming months as we rightfully are past halfway and coming into the holidays. Oh, I didn't say that. But I invite you to join us on Saturdays. If you can't make it live, check out the replay. They're available on YouTube. There is so much cool stuff going on around New Thought Media Network. And before I go today, I'm going to invite you, I want to share with you one other new thing that's happening. This is a pretty unique opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of this. And as I said in my sharing, sometimes we have to be in the place of learning. We have to be willing and open to receive new information, even if it feels like it's coming from a source maybe we don't know, or even if it feels like, oh, I've already done that type of work and I've got that part of my life handled. Sometimes a class comes forward that just says, I want to be in a learning community. And I want you to consider what we're about to present. A dear friend of the network, Ray Cheryl McCreary, is offering a class. And well, I'm going to give her the stage and in a short video here, let her share a little bit more of what we're going to do. So please don't go anywhere. Stick around. I'll be right back.
New Thought has a money problem. You know, it's okay to talk about prosperity. It's okay to talk about abundance. It's okay to talk about overflow. But often talking about money feels taboo, or it feels verboten, like do not talk about that. And I've experienced this in our New Thought communities and our centers and with our New Thought friends. And so here's my thinking. Who better to have money and to have mastered a money mindset than those of us who are working to build a more equitable world using New Thought spirituality, New Thought technology, and all of the wonderful things that we know work. I am Reverend Cheryl McCreary, and I invite you to join me for a 5-week online workshop entitled Manifest More Money. This work is intended to use spiritual practices and practical actions to help you bust through your money set point, to help you release any kind of money shame or guilt or limits or limited thinking and boxes you put yourself in, and to really move into right relationship, divine right relationship with money. Indeed, our divine birthright is to have unlimited abundance, and that includes money. So I invite you to join me. We're going to kick everything off on Thursday, September 1st. All of the information is right here in the post below. The link for you to register is right here for you. And here's the really great thing. If you register using the link here at New Thought Media Network, they will receive 50% of your registration fee. It goes directly to New Thought Media Network. So I invite you to join me. Let's take this walk together. Let's blow the hinges off of our money consciousness and our money limits. And let's really get aligned with that divine source of energy that we use on this plane to exchange goods and services and to create a better world. I invite you to join me. I look forward to it.
All right. Thank you for staying with us, folks. Rev Robert here, New Thought Media Network, our Saturday morning Science of Mind and Spirit Conversations series. And as I said, I'm going to be attending this class with Reverend Ray Sherrill, and just to keep the energy going, keep ourselves in a learning environment. If you're able to do it, please join us. As she said, it is a fundraiser, and anyone that signs up through our link will get 50% of your registration. So I think it's a great deal for us. If you'd like to join us, please consider that. There is a link in the description of today's program that has our affiliate link embedded in there. So you'll head to her main website, but we'll get the credit for it through your cookies and all that. Hey, also, some of the things I would like you to know, we've got some new programs coming up in the month of September. We've got 3 brand new programs launching, and I want to make sure I have all of my promos here. I do. So the first one is starting on the 6th of September. Our global focus today, Reverend Sherry Johnson is going to bring forward this amazing interview show and spotlighting the future of spiritual living, communities, organizations, and ministries. We'll be doing, as the name implies, a focus on the global ministries and an overall focus look at focus ministries around the movement. So plan to join us for that. That again is going to be Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 12 Central. And starting on the first Thursday of every month, this is a new program once a month. Our friend Psychic Rick is going to join us for an Ask Anything. Ask Psychic Rick anything. This is going to happen on the first Thursday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. You can join us in studio live, and if you want, you can join through the comments and ask your questions, or if you'd like, we'll bring you into the studio and put you on screen, and you can interact with Rick right there. So join us for that. And another show I'm really excited about. This is going to happen on noon Wednesdays. Now, those around the network probably know Reverend Barbara already. She sits in for me on the Friday evening Good News program when I can't be there. Has her own program on Fridays, Just One You. Well, she's teamed up with a Unity minister, Reverend Cheryl Rogers, and they're bringing forward a program, Spirit Cafe, with Cheryl and Barbara. Courageous Conversations for Changing Times. This begins in September as well. So please keep an eye out for all of our upcoming shows. And another announcement I'd like to make for those that are following along, our dear friend Sekou Wrights, who hosts a program here, is experiencing going through a health experience and a health challenge. In honor of him, we've been running rebroadcasts of his program per his family's request. We're going to shift that a little bit. Beginning August 29th to September 2nd, we're going to use the time slot that Sekou's program normally occupies to lift him in prayer and support him along his healing journey and help you to understand how you can help as well in consciousness and in form if it's available to you. Following that week, we'll go to weekly updates on Wednesdays on how Sekou's recovery is progressing and how he's doing with his various therapies as he continues to heal and is able to return to broadcasting if he so chooses. We want to honor and maintain his space on the network, so we're going to do that in this way. If you're able to join us any of those Monday or watch on the replay, again, new programming coming for Be Your Own Hero. Now we get to be Sekou's hero as he experiences a new aspect of his life and again returns on a journey of returning to wholeness. All right, folks, I'm Rev Robert. I want to thank you for being with us today. Saturdays are so much fun. Before I go, we should say thank you to our donors. Please know that everyone that contributes to this network is incredibly important, from our organizational sponsors to our committed individual givers. You are a part of the lifeblood that makes this all possible. So please don't go anywhere. Stay with us while we say thank you, and I'll be right back.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, dear ones, for being with us here on a Saturday morning. I'm Rev Robert. I'm getting out of here for now. This pretty much concludes our programming for Saturdays. Please check out our archives. We'll be back with evening prayers at 8:15 p.m. tonight, and then more a full day tomorrow with all of our Sunday morning programming and all day Sunday in the afternoon. I'm Rev Robert. I love you. I can't wait to be with you again. But until then, I wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.